who had any business doing anything at Vice at the end of the day? It says 8.
8 a.m. Oh my God, 8 a.m. Putting in everybody's drinks and then feeding it to me. Pebbles wrote Fake Blood a love letter and left it with the front desk.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me in the tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
You are one of the tales.
I am one of your tales.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Jubilee. I do many things. I am a DJ, I'm a producer. I have a record label called Magic City, and I have a radio show on the Lot Radio in Brooklyn, New York. I think that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
My guest this week on Roxy's Tales is a bunny with iconic ears and an unparalleled passion for the rave, Jubilee. She's a DJ and producer behind a plethora of bangers on Night Shifters, Mixpack, and her own label, Magic City, which just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. She's taken her Miami-based roots above and beyond to dance floors worldwide while championing many producers and DJs. Her affinity for bass is magic. Without further ado, my bunny, Jubilee.
Do you know how we met?
On the internet.
The
The
Hollerboard or MySpace?
I think like it was it's always both. It's like you see this person on the message board, so you find them on MySpace, and then like you kind of like cross interact.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with yeah, it's both. There's like this, it's like a parallel timeline.
And
Yeah.
that was like 2006?
I'm gonna say yeah, 2007 maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, 2006, 2007. I worked at Studio B.
You worked at Studio B
I worked the door.
in 2007.
Yes. Something happened where they were going to close, and then Dave P and JDH took over it. And then I started managing the club nights there as well. And that was probably like 2009.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did work there. I was an intern at Modular Records.
Oh, wow.
And Josh JDH that runs Good Room now, which is where my party is now because everything is full circle. He was doing Studio B and booking Studio B also, or doing his party there, and I would do the door for his parties and some others. And then his wife, who was his girlfriend at the time, was the New York person for Modular Records, which was putting out like New Young Pony Club and Cut Copy and Mastercraft and like all these like really big records at the time. And I was interning for her. So through that, I started DJing. And then that kind of crossed over with your stuff
Yeah.
because of like Studio B and Sway and like everything like that. So like somewhere in there, I met you through the pipeline of probably Techie Latex.
You moved to New York when?
I moved to New York in 2003.
You're from Florida.
Yeah, I'm from Florida. Florida's not a great place. I the second I finished school, I was like out the door. I already had family here. My mom and dad are from here, and I didn't know anybody. Like and there, like we were just saying, like there was message boards. There wasn't, it's really funny because like MySpace was just like Friendster was like just ending and MySpace was like just beginning. And one of the things I remember about joining MySpace as a New Yorker was being like, who is this person in a diaper named Fat Jewish? I keep friend requesting me and I keep declining it, and then he keeps requesting me again. And it's just like so funny that like that spiraled into what it is. But as we were saying, it was kind of easy to meet people because in these music scenes, there were no women. And I was like really into buying records and really into DJing. So like I don't know. A lot of people are like, women didn't get treated well. And I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of really easy for me to meet people because like whether it was like other women or like, oh my God, what am I wearing? What are all of
Look
us
at
wearing?
Melissa's blonde.
Is that Melissa? Oh my God.
It is. But it's so Y2K. It's so good.
So Y2K.
And there, I have more pictures that I'll share. I love this look.
This is a lot. That is a Mishka sweatshirt that Melissa made into a dress.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I know where that is. That is a Scion party at the Winter Music Conference.
Yes, it is. This was
Yeah.
a crazy lineup too. I
It
think
was a
Calvin
crazy
Harris
one.
was on this, right?
Who was?
Calvin
Calvin
Harris.
Harris, yeah. And he played for like nobody.
Crazy.
And it was when he just like played the guitar and sang too.
He played
It was
guitar this day?
yeah, he used to like he was like a dancey like singing act. He wasn't even really DJing like that.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So wait, New York, you're coming, you meet like who you worked at Modular? That was like,
This is how it started. So I work for Modular and then I saw a video of a party, an Ed Banger party in Paris. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is like the rave is back." Like this is this is really funny, but I was like, this would never ever come to America. America just like doesn't understand. So there's this festival in Montreal called Oshega Festival. Used to have this after party series called Megfest, which was like after Oshega, there were all these night parties. And I saw that there was an Ed Banger that night there. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna go to Canada because like this will never happen here. And I went to Canada with my two friends. We drove there. I had never been to Canada. And I went and saw all of Ed Banger. And then like I met Techie Latex, who was like on the internet, like and very social and like just always the best. And we kept in touch. And then not that long after, he was like, my rap group, TTC, which was the best, and it still is the best ever, is coming to New York. Like, why don't you come? So I went, and that is where I met Maggie Horn.
wow.
Because I went alone and Maggie went alone because she was friends with Techie. Like the rave kind of brought me to like start going to Sway and Monday nights and like all of that stuff. There you go.
It was in the middle.
Oh, Patty.
Oh, yeah, that's like an old friend of yours, right?
Yeah.
Where else were you going? I mean, I know you came to Sway a lot.
I was
Um,
going to drum and bass shows and like that was it.
where
Like Rothko,
I've
Rothko tonic, so or subtonic. Um I had some skater friends that kind of crossed over, so I would go to like a Smith's night at Sway. I would go to your night. Um, but I was mostly like actually at the time there was a small drum and bass night in New York like every night of the week in the city. Like, let it be known that there were two, not one, but two drum and bass record stores on the Lower East Side then. Like they paid a Lower East Side rent and survived. Um, so like there actually was like a pretty cool scene like in the city, and I had moved to the East Village. So I was just like walking to all of these like Wednesday night drum and bass parties or whatever. And yeah, like I was mostly going to Direct Drive, which was also where I got my first DJ gigs. Um, and then eventually I was there for 2 years and then I moved to Williamsburg in 2006. And that is when I started going to like Studio B. And I wanted to just meet people that want to have fun and not be so fucking serious, you know? So like I started going to all this other stuff with like more party music mixed with edits and Baltimore Club and stuff like that.
okay, here we go. Tell me about your relationship with Mishka.
I did a mixtape. I did this mixtape for them.
Mhm.
And we, yeah, like This Manslaughter for Mishka was Teresa Dapra and Belissa. Like that dress I was wearing, they started making all these handmade dresses. And they had like a little launch for it in their store. There was a Mishka store on like, where was it? Oh no, this was at Love Brigade, it looks like.
Yeah, I think this is before the Mishka store.
Yeah, that was another really cool store in Williamsburg.
Mhm.
And me and Vivian played the party, which I remember was really cool. And I was just starting to become friends with Star Eyes. Kids were so much more feral then. They had so much less internet. So like they went out and everything wasn't so expensive, which is like back then, like it was just recovering from like 9/11, you know what I mean? Like New York was like kind of in a weird place and everybody was kind of like starting to like resurface.
So
And
true.
it was like cheaper I mean, it still was expensive. Rent was expensive. It always was. But like there was like an open bar party every night of the week. And like you could really go out every night and not spend like $200 every night.
So wait, you started DJing when?
So I started going to these drum and bass parties at Rothko, and Rothko had a basement. So eventually the promoter, Cliff Cho, if you knew him, he does like Fat Buddha now and a bunch of stuff. He was like, well, why don't like you and your girlfriends, because you guys are really fun and you come out to everything, why don't you guys just play like CDs in the basement? Like, no pressure. So like we were just down there playing like ghetto tech. We were like down there playing like DJ Assault and DJ Funk. Um, so like those were like the first time I was like on a flyer, you know? And then eventually I started like mixing and like doing stuff through that and then through Studio B and Modular Records. Like I was like the modular DJ. So those were like simultaneously maybe my first gigs. And then like Scion happened.
Scion did happen.
Yeah,
They
and
put money in your pocket?
at one point,
Yeah.
but like not like other people. Because again, not a lot of women really got much from them.
Well, they did sponsor the 5-year anniversary of Mondays at Sway and gave me a
Yeah.
this is,
They
this is you
spun whoa, sick.
this is you playing at Sway.
I remember this party very well because Mike was such a loudmouth online. And then you would meet him in person and he would not say a single
So
word.
shy.
I know. So, and I never met him in real life. Like he would send me music and we were friends on the internet. And he lived in New Jersey, so he wasn't like around. And I was DJing and he just kind of like stood in front of me like, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey, I don't know. Like, what's up?" And like Instagram didn't exist, so like you couldn't really find people's faces or like and then he was like, "I'm Mike Q." And I was just like, "You just stood there for like 30 minutes before you said anything." And I remember that was the night that I met him and it was super cool.
Amazing. Yeah, he told me I was like the first person to book him in like a straight scene.
Yeah, like not
Yeah,
ballroom.
not ballroom. Yeah.
And he had like this Tuesday night. It was a Monday night at
Vogue nights.
Escondido. Yeah,
No, I used to go to Vogue nights. It was at
Escalitos.
Escalitas. Yeah. That's
Yeah, it was so
nuts.
good. It was like,
You know, he made me walk once to Bounce Little Kitty. Yes, he's like, "Girl, you got to get out there.
oh wait, I remember this. Yeah.
They want you to strut your stuff. Get
It
out
was
there."
crazy too. Like, remember how he DJ'd there? He was like in like a
Yes, he was like
closet
in a closet.
with like an iPad, and that's how he saw the dance floor. But he
Yes.
was like in this room, like almost watching a surveillance camera and like DJing for that. And I thought that that was crazy. But like I said, we were like running around like crazy kids, and that night was so great because first of all, Vogue Nights was it moved from Monday to Tuesday, and then it it didn't get popping till like 3:30 in the morning. Like you would go and everybody would be waiting for the ball and just kind of like hanging around and quiet. And then like once like 3 o'clock rolled around, it started getting like really cunty. And like, what a special thing to be like able to just roll into this place on 34th Street at 3 o'clock in the morning and see like the best dancers and MCs and DJ you will ever see. Like, it was much more organic
Yeah.
then and feral. We're here, like people are a little more reserved because they don't want to do anything weird because it might go viral or like you could definitely like be a little crazier, you know?
This is my birthday
Oh yes.
of 2009.
This is where I have a good story. Oh, Jasmine played that. Crazy.
Yeah.
Um, this was
This
the first.
okay, so this was at Imperial. Do you remember Imperial?
This is the only time I've ever been there.
Yeah,
I,
I did a Red Bull party there first. And it was like Easter in October, and I gave out bunny ears, and it was insane. Like I
oh, I think I do remember that. Yeah.
did this crazy party, Svedka open bar. Like this, the amount of open bars and the
Yeah.
amount of Red Bull.
The
It was
amount of open bars and the amount of brands wanting to give you money then was way different than now. Let's put it that way. Like you could call up a brand and be like, I really want to go on tour, help me. And they would. Where now it's like, are you an influencer? Well, we don't care. Like, are you gonna post this and do you have 100,000 followers? Like it was so much different then. It was like, we just want to be involved.
Does it say the time? Because I know we went until like 7 or 8 in the morning.
It says
8 a.m.
a.m.
Oh my God, 8 a.m. 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Well, I mean, I guess technically anything can stay open as long as they're not serving.
They were serving.
Oh, they didn't give a fuck.
Weren't they serving? I mean,
I don't know because one of the DJs on this lineup was the biggest asshole to me that anybody's ever been. And I'm gonna let you figure that out. I'm not gonna name names, but it's somebody that I'm not friends with, never saw again, but is around. Maybe on the radio.
I don't remember because I was, girl, this was my like belated birthday and
No, this had nothing to do with you.
I know, but I was too lit. I don't know.
Right.
I don't remember the night.
My set was at 4 in the morning. So by the time I got there, I like had maybe a gig earlier in the night. And by the time I got there, you were just like trash, which you should be. It's your birthday, you know? And this was in Serato days. Did Rock One play this too? Or he was just there?
Yeah, he did this flyer.
All right, I remember
Oh,
being with Rock. It was my turn to DJ. And you know, back then, like you had to plug your Serato in and it was like a whole fucking thing. And if the person before you like wasn't a nice person and cooperative, it could be pretty stressful. It's, I know a lot of people are on USBs and controllers now, but it's basically the equivalent of like unplugging the whole mixer and plugging it back in again. And you have to like strategically do it with the person next to you.
yeah.
And I walk up there and this guy, on the flyer, uh, is playing and he just kind of looks at me and he like is like, you're playing next? And I'm like, yeah, and he keeps playing. And I'm like, meanwhile, like you are like, no, it's your turn to play. And I'm like, I don't know this person.
Man.
I'm like, I don't know anybody. And I'm like 4'11 and like this is already like I'm already nervous. Like you're like my idol. I don't want to like fuck up your birthday party and like
Oh,
and then that DJ on the flyer was like puts his boy on instead. He's
oh
like,
my God.
and then they're just ignoring me. And I'm like standing there with all my stuff. And it's like this tiny booth. I didn't want to ruin your, like, you were having a really good time and you had no idea what was going on. And I was like, why would I make you be a referee for this bullshit right now when, like, you could just be completely oblivious
Oh my God.
and have a great time till 8 in the morning, like, and we just like went to some after party, but it's so funny because that DJ is still around now And I always see all these like young girls that he mentors that are like, this person's like so supportive of women. And in my head, I'm like, I will never, ever forget
Mm.
how that person and his friends acted towards me.
I'm sorry, girl. What the
It
fuck?
wasn't, no, you called me like the next day. I wasn't mad. I wasn't even like, it was kind of one of those things where like I had never like all these girls the
This is why I was so far
fucking
gone. Paloma had the turkey baster and she was putting in everybody's drinks and then feeding it to me.
Oh my God, Paloma, don't ever change. This is so funny. I can't even deal with this.
It's amazing. I have so many of you in Paloma.
Oh, that was an outfit. I know what day this was.
What was this wasn't my event
No, we went to the water taxi beach
to see. Do you
for
remember who
Martinez
I
Brothers.
remember. You don't
Yeah.
remember?
I remember it really well because it was the day I met Paloma.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had never met her before this
It was
day.
the Martinez brothers.
Yeah, that was a sick venue.
I know. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was a good.
Yeah, this guy was selling house music outside of the venue. Do you remember this? This
I
is
like I
honest.
remember this day so well.
Oh, it was
I
amazing.
like really remember this day.
This is the day you met Paloma? Oh my
I'd
God.
never met her before this. Yeah.
Wow. And so your production, where did you put that out on when you started producing?
I started my own label with this guy named Jason Forrest called Night Shifters. And it was like kind of at the time where like bass heavy, bloggy music was out. And we did that for a while. We put out some cool records. We put out like AC Slater and we put out Cam Blaster, and then I got signed to Mixpac, which is Dre Skull. And me and you and a bunch of people had been friends with Dre Skull for like forever.
Yeah.
And like, we were really good. We actually were roommates. We wound up living together in like 2009. So he started Mixpac while we were living together and then signed my record, my first record called Pop It to the label. And then like we like grew as Mixpac, like and became like a crazy thing. He started doing stuff with Sizzla and with Vibes Cartel, but also doing stuff with like Justin Martin and like
Popcan.
dance music producers. Yeah, and then eventually through Vibes Cartel put out the Popcorn album and then it kind of like blew up. So I wound up on that label for a really, really long time. I did two albums on that label. And then while I was doing that, I started my own label, which is Magic City, which started out as a compilation series at the time, but things were different then. You could just put stuff on SoundCloud, like, and that was it. And like,
You know what? I remember I DJ'd your first Magic City party,
you
didn't I?
did. You DJ'd my first Magic City party, which was 10 years ago. It was amazing. Trina performed.
Oh, insane.
Trina performed, Boys Noise played, Busy P and Boston Bun played. You played, Star Eyes played, So Super Sam played. Like the lineup was like all my favorite people. And
Insane.
like it was also like the one of the first things Brooklyn Mirage ever did. And it was just sick. It was like such a good party. I was like, I remember your outfit. Like everybody like went in like
I had the full body stocking on
yes.
with pasties. I was wearing weed nipple pasties.
Yes.
Glitter. Yeah, I went ham. And I think I crimped my hair too. My hair was like
Yeah, like you all
baby.
looked so good. It was so fun.
Are there any other blogs that you felt were influential?
I wrote for Trash Menagerie.
Oh
It
wow.
was a blog. That's another like I wrote for a few blogs also. Well, weird. I wrote for Trash Menagerie and I wrote for another blog called The Decadence. And that was like the only way you found music then.
Yeah.
So like when I had the first record label, Night Shifters, like basically what would happen was like the way we would get a release around, a digital release, which was very new at the time, is we would just send it to a bunch of blogs and be like, post this for free if you want. And like that was just how we did things. You know, we're going back on the subject. EVR had like two women doing a show on that station. They would not answer my calls. They would not answer my emails. I had so many people CC me with them and they just were not having it. And there was no like I really, really wanted to do radio. Like, but that like there wasn't the lot radio. There wasn't like any of that stuff here. So then I got word that Vice was launching a dance music channel.
Is that thumb?
Oh, yes. So like a bird told me this. So I went into the Vice office and I pitched a show. I was like, you guys need to give me like a radio show on your channel. And maybe we could record at like EVR or like, I don't know, like or
Mhm.
in a podcast room or like something. And they really liked the idea. And this is like how crazy things are and how crazy Vice is. But I swear to God, I walked home. I lived on Grand, which is below First Street, and Vice was on like 13th Street. I walked home, which was like a 20-minute walk, not even. I get home and I get a phone call and they're like, you want to just be the editor of this website? And I was like, um, I like have written like two things in my entire life, like for like blogs, like not even like real writing, you know? And they were like, yeah, but you know a lot. And like, we have editors, they can like help you with it, but like we don't have anybody to launch this website. And, like, and I didn't really want to be like a Vice writer, but at the same time, I was like, if I don't do this, somebody else is gonna do it and like only write about Skrillex. And there's like so much underground, awesome music that could be written about if the right person is in this position.
Yeah.
So I took the position and I was like the editor for a brief time and I launched Thump. So I started doing that. I had no business doing that, but like who had any business doing anything at Vice at the end of the day? Like that's like part of Brooklyn lore, you know?
The earlier blogs, I guess, besides like, I know that you were on MySpace. I know you were on the Holler Board, and I know you were on Breakbeat Science.
Yeah, I was heavy on Breakbeat Science for sure.
And
Breakbeat Science I was on first, and that's how I found the holler board. Because anything that
really,
like, yeah, anything that wasn't jungle, like nobody really wanted to like hear on that board. You know what I mean? And there were two drum and bass boards that I frequented. There was that and Dogs on Acid. And then somehow through that board, I mean, I knew who Diplo was. Like, I just didn't know that board existed. So, like, when I saw the holler board linked through Breakbeat Science, I was like, oh, this is like other music. Like, oh, A-Track's on here, Roxy's on here, sick. Okay, like, these are like events that I want to know about and I wouldn't have known about otherwise. And then like somehow wound up becoming really good friends with Catch Dubs, who just revamped my entire label. So like
yes.
basically my whole life right now has like come from this world because Nick redid my label and like even Sarah that did my website was like was my roommate then and like working the door for all like my had a party with Catch Dubs and Airs called Flashing Lights in 2009 and like she worked the door there and she just did my whole website. Like everybody I'm working with right now is like from that era. Wow, this is crazy, huh? Was this in
This was
Miami?
this was Miami Winter Music Conference, but this got rained out.
Yeah, didn't this
Yeah.
not happen?
It did happen, but it happened first on the roof, and then it started. Was that Gansevoort? Yeah, the Gansevoort.
Yeah.
Well, it happened on the roof, then it started raining. Then they moved us into the lobby. And meanwhile, everyone at Winter Music Conference is staying, like Fake Blood is staying. Pebbles wrote Fake Blood a love letter and left it with the front desk. This is how far gone we were.
We're leaving out your bus party.
Oh, the bus from 323, was it that one to Atlantic City or to
Yeah,
Philly?
and
To
I
Atlantic
think
City?
that
I
was
had
like the
two.
first time I really hung out with you. Like And you're so funny. Like one thing I love about you and like the way you always were was like you had this popping party and you were like doing like the coolest of the cool things, but like you also like always wanted people you didn't know around. Like you always wanted to like let new people in. Like always.
This was it.
Right. Oh yeah.
Did we stop in Philly and pick people up?
Think so. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Via Atlantic City, 4 hour party, and back to Philly and New York City.
And I'm pretty sure them jeans stayed on my couch. But the funny thing was we had never met, but like we were so like in this weird world of like trusting each other. He was like, "Hey, can I crash on your couch when I do this thing?"
Did this pick up at my house?
Yeah, it did.
And it was like a party bus, right?
Yeah, it was a party bus. There was a lot of people on it, but enough to like sit along. Like it had like it didn't have like normal bus seats. It was like almost like limo style
Yeah.
where you like sat
I'm like,
along
who did
the
I get to pay for this? Like, does it have a sponsor? I'm like, what the things that I pulled out of my ass to
I
like
know.
happen. I'm like, it's just crazy.
The last thing I'm going to bring up, and we can elaborate on it, is the all-girl DJ tour that we went on in Canada.
Oh, I mean, oh God, don't you remember too? I was wearing one outfit that whole time because
Yeah. Something
I
about the
had,
laundry
I
detergent.
had, I had had my stuff laundered before I left on tour by a new place. And this has happened, it happened before where I had my stuff washed and I broke out in hives. And I was like, listen, whatever like dryer sheets, I don't know what you're putting in here, but I need Tide. Like it has to be Tide. So I
Yeah.
gave them the detergent. And then instead of packing like a normal person, I would just take the clean clothes and I would throw them in the suitcase in like the saran wrap bag. So I didn't have anything that hadn't been laundered by these people, thinking that I had already given them my Tide detergent and they used whatever the fuck they used.
The tour, the driver couldn't drive. Do you remember this?
I
They
do.
like gave us, she like, the tour manager didn't have her license, which like, what's the fucking point? Gets her friend to be the driver, like to like different like 10-hour drives in Canada, and she can like barely drive. Oh my God, this is so funny. At one point, Vivian Star Eyes parked the car. Remember the girl couldn't park? And Vivian was like, "Get out, I'm parking the fucking car." Like, because she had tried to park in the spot like six
I remember
times.
just trying to be like a good sport and trying to be like,
Same.
I mean,
No,
I'm
I
always positive. That's just my
I
nature.
remember like loving you on that because you were just like so good about it. Like you were just like so positive about it and it was like kind of insane. And the crazy thing about that tour is like you and Vivian only did like 3 or 4 dates on that tour. I did like 9. Has this ever happened to you? Like somebody leaves an anonymous comment on like YouTube or a blog, right? Like talking shit about you, and then like whatever that website is, they sign up for an account like years later, and then you could like it like says their name next to what was once an anonymous comment. Like I
Yes.
don't know if this has ever happened to you before, but I had on my smoke rings video, there was a comment from way before this tour that was like, what the fuck is this shit? This bootleg ass MIA, like this is garbage. And then right when I got home from this tour, for some reason I like looked at the comments on my video and it was her. And I wrote her and I was like, you left this comment and then you booked me for a tour? Like, are you okay? And she was like, oh, it was supposed to be a joke. And I'm like, why would you do that as a joke? Like, it wasn't a joke.
What in the world? Okay. Well, on that note, keep crushing it.
Same.
Thanks, Jess. Love you.
Love you.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.